Good morning, this is Shindo. Continuing on the conversation about Russia and Turkey and their new alliance and how it's going to affect us here in the West, considering that Turkey is a NATO country and considering that Turkey feels, understandably, that the West is not supporting them, is not showing them any kind of really concern. Folks, if you remember history, during the 1960s, the reason the Cuban Missile Crisis happened was because the United States was building up military installments in Turkey in order to put missiles in Turkey. So Russia decided, Soviet Union decided to put missiles in Cuba. Tit for tat. It wasn't until the United States said that they would pull those missiles out of Turkey that the whole Cuban Missile Crisis and any problems was averted. That is the true story of that particular incident. It wasn't just how powerful and strong Kennedy was against the Soviet Union. It was, again, a tit for tat. We'll pull out our missiles as long as you don't put your missiles in Cuba. This is a fact, folks. Look it up. This is historical fact. So here we are about Turkey again. That's why this is significant to us in the West. Turkey is not getting the kind of respect that it believes it deserves from the West. Therefore, it is going to the East, to Russia, for support. This is from the Telegraph. The title of this article is Russia and Turkey's New Friendship is Bad News for the West. The European Union and NATO face a significant challenge from the unfolding diplomatic rapprochement between Russia and Turkey. For centuries, these two countries were implacable enemies, and efforts a decade ago to forge a strategic partnership were undone by the Syrian civil war. How interesting. While Moscow props up Bashar al-Assad, Ankara either stayed out or supported his enemies. Relations hit a low point last November when Turkish jets shot down a Russian Su-24 bomber near the Syrian border for violating Turkish airspace. Russia imposed sanctions and a freeze descended once more, which, of course, the United States was fine with. But even before the attempted military takeover last month, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan had decided he could no longer afford a Cold War with Moscow and began making overtures to the Kremlin. The failed coup appears to have expedited matters. Yesterday, Mr. Erdogan met with Vladimir Putin to agree to normalize relations between the two countries. For President Putin, the opportunity to drive a wedge between Turkey, NATO, and the EU is a small price to pay for abating Russian anger over the jet incident. He must recognize in Mr. Erdogan a leader cut from the same cloth, a democratically elected nationalist behaving more like a despot. The Turkish leader's purge of opponents after the thwarted push has alarmed EU leaders, who has encouraged Ankara to believe it could join the Union at some point in the future, and have promised to introduce visa-free access for Turkish travelers to the Schengen area. But no date has been given for either, and several EU countries have made it clear that they would veto Turkey's accession. Europe has been desperate to keep both options open in order to stop Turkey reneging on deals to keep Syrian refugees from crossing into Europe. But Mr. Erdogan seems to be cooling towards Europe, none of whose leaders have been to Ankara since the failed coup, and is seeking alliance elsewhere. The implications of improving relations between Russia and Turkey are significant, both for policy on Syria and for NATO itself. The U.S. nuclear base at Incirlik is a key part of Western defenses. Were Turkey to leave the organization, its loss would be a serious blow. Perhaps a weakened Mr. Erdogan needs a thaw with Russia more than Mr. Putin needs him, but the Russian leader has grabbed at the chance to cause fresh consternation in the capitals of Europe and in Washington. Now again, this news, if it's covered at all, will be covered at 1 o'clock in the afternoon when nobody's watching TV, when everybody's at work, in the middle of a work week, instead of being covered as one of the primary news stories in the first 30 minutes of a broadcast. So, I mean, I don't have to tell you, if you've watched the media, what they're talking about. They're not talking about this. So, I'm covering it. And if this is the kind of thing that you want to hear about, you know, pertinent news, pertinent foreign news. Lately, it's been Turkey and it's been Russia that I've been talking about. It's no accident for that, because they are actually making news. So if this is the kind of thing that you want to hear about, then subscribe to my channel, because this is the kind of things that I do. This is the kind of things that I put out. You're not going to find this covered, certainly not in any kind of depth, in the infotainment media sources. So it looks quite possible that Turkey and Russia are going to make an alliance. They have made a defense alliance. That is not good for the West and for the United States of America. That is not good for Europe. They don't want Turkey and Russia, who have been enemies for years and years and years, to join forces. The next thing is going to be, and Russia has already been talking to them as well, the next thing is Russia and China. And if you got a block of Russia, China, and Turkey, what is this being led up to? What are we going into now? As the economy is in a huge bubble, and that bubble is eventually going to burst, I think, before the election here in the United States. As we increasingly see that the economy is going to go into the toilet, they're going to have to find a way to get people to continue to support the United States of America, and that way is to get a tangible enemy, an enemy that actually has borders, unlike these terrorist groups. Turkey is going to open the doors to these refugees to run all through Europe once this alliance between them and Russia continues, because their sticking point is Syria. And I can tell you that the United States is more concerned with whether Assad is in as president than Russia is, than Turkey is. They have now a common enemy, and that's us, the United States of America. And the United States of America and the West is doing nothing to stop this. This is Shindo. Have a good day.
When the sun screw.